The woman's scream echoed through the cabin before I even reached my seat. "That's my spot. You're in my seat," she shrieked, her voice slicing through the steady hum of boarding passengers. Everyone's heads turned. The flight attendants exchanged wary looks. I froze halfway down the aisle, clutching my boarding pass like it was evidence in a trial. "Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from, because what happened on this flight still doesn't feel real." It was supposed to be a normal morning. I had an early flight from Denver to New York for a business presentation I'd spent weeks preparing. I'm a quiet traveler, noise, canceling headphones, window seat, coffee in hand. Simple, but that morning, my seat was about to become the battleground for the loudest, most entitled confrontation I've ever witnessed. I glanced at my ticket again, 21A, window seat. I could already imagine the sunrise breaking over the clouds. But when I finally reached row 21, my heart sank. Someone was already sitting there. She looked up, chewing gum like she owned the plane, big sunglasses, messy blonde hair, floral cardigan, the look of someone who'd start drama just to win it. Her bag was sprawled across my seat, phone in hand, legs crossed arrogantly. I smiled politely. "Hi, sorry, I think you're in my seat, 21A. Her lips curled into a smirk, like I'd just told her a bad joke. No, I booked this seat, window right, maybe you read it wrong." The passengers behind me sighed impatiently. I could feel the tension brewing like a storm. I checked my ticket, calm but firm. "Ma'am, this is 21A. Maybe yours is the aisle." She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might stick that way. "I always book window seats. You must have messed up." She waved me off like a child pestering an adult. My patience started thinning, but I kept my tone steady. "Can I just see your ticket?" That's when she exploded. "Are you accusing me of lying?" She barked, voice rising, heads turned again. The flight attendants paused mid-demo. Unbelievable. Some people think they can bully women into moving just because they're early. She cried, clutching her bag dramatically. I blinked, stunned. What? I wasn't being rude, just asking her to check. But she was performing now, loud enough for the entire row to hear. "You think just because you wear a suit, you own the plane?" I could feel the stares digging into my back, judgmental, confused, entertained. This wasn't just about a seat anymore. She was building a scene, twisting the truth, painting herself as the victim. My pulse quickened. I took a deep breath, forcing calm. "Look, I'm not trying to argue. Let's just ask the attendant to check." Her reply came sharp as glass. "No need, you can take that aisle seat and stop harassing me." She jabbed her finger toward the middle seat, where a teenage boy sat frozen, pretending to disappear. That's when the flight attendant approached, calm, composed, but with that look that said, "Not another one of these." "Is there a problem here?" she asked gently. Before I could speak, the woman jumped in. "Yes, this man is trying to take my seat," she cried, fake tears already welling up. I opened my mouth to respond, but the attendant held up her hand. "Ma'am, may I see your boarding pass?" The woman hesitated, fumbling in her purse. The air thickened with awkward silence. Passengers leaned closer, waiting. I caught a glimpse of her ticket, 21C, the aisle seat. The attendant raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, your seat is 21C. The gentleman's seat is 21A. The woman's face flushed red beneath her heavy makeup. She stammered, "Well, maybe I like the window better. What's the big deal?" The flight attendant's voice turned colder. "The big deal is that you're sitting in the wrong seat." For a second I thought it was over, but the woman Karen, as someone muttered behind me, wasn't backing down. She tightened her grip on the armrest, glaring at me like I'd committed a crime. "I'm not moving," she hissed. "He can find another seat." The murmurs began, quiet at first, then louder. What's wrong with her? Just move already. The crowd was turning against her, but she didn't care. She was doubling down, desperate to win whatever imaginary power struggle she thought this was. My stomach tightened. I hadn't even sat down yet, and already this flight was becoming a nightmare. The attendant sighed, signaling for backup. And that's when Karen made her next move, something that made everyone gasp. Karen suddenly unbuckled, stood up, and stepped right into my path, blocking me completely. Her perfume was strong, nauseatingly sweet, mixing with the recycled cabin air. She jabbed her finger into my chest, voice trembling with rage. "You think you can boss me around because you're some executive in a fancy suit? I saw you at the gate acting important. Guess what? The world doesn't revolve around you." Her words hit like bullets. The plane went silent. Even the hum of engines seemed to pause. I kept my voice low, trying to diffuse the tension. "Ma'am, please. This isn't about—" But before I could finish, she snatched my ticket right out of my hand. Gasps filled the cabin. "Hey." I reached for it, but she held it up triumphantly like she'd just won something. "See, he's making a scene. Look at him attacking me," she shouted. My jaw dropped. "You took my ticket?" The flight attendant's radio crackled as she called for the captain. This wasn't just a seat dispute anymore, this was turning into a full-blown incident. The passengers were whispering, phones already out. Someone was recording. I could see the little red light of a camera aimed right at us. Karen puffed up her chest, pretending to sob. "I'm just a single woman traveling alone, and this man's harassing me. I don't feel safe." The accusation hit like ice water. That's when I saw the flight attendant's hesitation just for a second, but enough to sting. I took a deep breath, forcing calm into my voice. "Check the ticket. It's mine. She just took it." The second attendant arrived, tall, serious, with a name tag that read Captain Laura. Her presence changed the air instantly. She didn't smile, didn't blink. "What's going on here?" she asked, her tone sharp. Karen spun toward her like an actress hitting her mark. "This man won't leave me alone. He's trying to take my seat." But Captain Laura wasn't buying it. "Let me see both boarding passes." She held out her hand, and for the first time, Karen faltered. Her fingers shook slightly as she handed over both papers. Laura scanned them, then looked up, her expression flat. "Sir is in 21A. You are in 21C. Please sit down before I call security." The silence that followed was deafening. Karen's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. This is ridiculous. I paid for this seat." "Then you'll need to discuss that with customer service after the flight," Laura said firmly. "For now, return to your assigned seat." Karen's face contorted into a mix of embarrassment and fury. "This isn't over," she muttered under her breath as she finally sat down in 21C, arms crossed tight. I exhaled, finally sliding into my seat. My hands were trembling, not from fear but from adrenaline. The teenager beside us whispered, "Dude, that was wild." I nodded, forcing a small laugh. Yeah, wild. But my mind was still racing. Karen wasn't the kind of person who let things go quietly. I could feel her glare burning into the side of my face as the plane taxied. She kept muttering under her breath words like rude, entitled, and "I'll show him." When the plane finally took off, I tried to relax, staring out at the clouds. But 20 minutes in, Karen pressed her call button. The attendant approached cautiously. "Yes, ma'am." Karen leaned in and whispered something. The attendant frowned. "I'll check," she said before walking toward the cockpit. My chest tightened again. Whatever Karen was plotting, it wasn't over. She turned slightly toward me and smirked. "Enjoy your flight," she whispered coldly. Moments later, Captain Laura returned, but this time she wasn't smiling. "Sir, may I see your ID?" she asked. My heart skipped, of course. I said, confused. I handed it over, and she studied it carefully, then glanced at Karen, who was pretending to look innocent. "We received a report that you might be using someone else's ticket," Laura said evenly. The cabin murmured again. I froze, realizing what Karen had done. She'd told them I was the fraud. The blood drained from my face. "That's not true," I said quickly. "You just saw my ticket. It's in her hand." Laura turned to Karen. "Ma'am, do you have his boarding pass?" Karen feigned surprise, patting her purse. "Oh, maybe he dropped it when he was yelling earlier." She pulled it out dramatically. "See, his name doesn't even match the manifest." Laura's brow furrowed. She tapped her radio. "We'll confirm that. Stay seated." Karen leaned back, smiling smugly. "Lying to airline staff is a federal offense, you know." She whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. My hands clenched. I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, but now I was stuck 30,000 feet in the air, trapped next to someone willing to lie just to humiliate me. I didn't know it yet, but she had no idea who she was messing with. 15 tense minutes passed before Captain Laura returned, flanked by another attendant holding a tablet. The entire section was dead silent now. She looked between us, her tone colder than before. We verified the passenger manifest. Sir, your ID and ticket are valid. Ma'am. She turned toward Karen. Your ticket was purchased using a different name. Care to explain? Karen blinked, her bravado flickering. What? No, that can't be right. My husband booked it for me. Laura tilted the tablet toward her. The cardholder name is flagged. This ticket was reported stolen from our online system yesterday. The gasp that rippled through the rows was electric. Karen's jaw dropped. That's impossible. I didn't know. But the truth was out. Laura stood firm. Ma'am, please gather your belongings. We'll need to speak once we land. Karen's face turned white. You can't do this to me, she yelled. I'm not the criminal here. He is. But no one believed her anymore. The other passengers started murmuring. Someone muttered, serves her right. Another chuckled. Phones came back out, recording again. Karen's hands trembled as she stood, glaring at me like she wanted to burn a hole through my skull. You did this, she hissed. You set me up. I shook my head slowly. No, ma'am, you did this to yourself. The attendants moved her to an empty row near the back under quiet supervision. For the rest of the flight, I could feel her anger pulsing behind me, like a storm waiting to break. When we landed, security was waiting at the gate. They escorted her off first. She kept shouting that it was unfair, that I had connections, that she'd sue the airline into the ground. Nobody listened. The applause that erupted when she was gone was small but satisfying. As I walked off the plane, Captain Laura caught up to me. Sir, she said softly, thank you for staying calm. We found that her ticket was indeed flagged. She's facing charges for attempted fraud. I nodded, still processing everything. Thank you for believing me. She gave a faint smile. You'd be surprised how many don't stay that calm under pressure. It wasn't until I reached baggage claim that I finally relaxed. My phone buzzed an email from the airline. Apologies for the inconvenience, Mr. Reed. You've been upgraded to first class on your return flight. I chuckled, shaking my head. What a day. But as I looked around the terminal, I caught a glimpse of Karen being led away by airport police, still shouting about her rights. She didn't expect that her lies would catch up so fast. She thought she could fake it, yell loud enough to win. But the truth, it always finds a way to land even 30,000 feet in the air.